how do you prepare for data and AI driven future, right? I think everybody says, hey, data and AI are the cool jobs. So Ray is going to talk about, how do you kind of prepare for it, what's required to get there. Over to you, Ray.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shedu. Very good morning, very good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this presentation. So, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Renganathan, right? Renganathan Palanisamy. You can call me as Ray. So, I'm basically a data specialist and also the MCT Regional Lead for Malaysia, right? MCT Regional Lead for Malaysia. So, it's good to have all of you here with me, and as what Chedu mentioned, this will be a non-technical session, but something that I believe will be of use if you are considering to become the future workforce in AI, and also especially for undergraduates, if you are planning to pick up AI, I have something available for you. Right. So without further ado, let me just go to the understanding of what we're going to see today, right? What we're going to see today. Basically, we're going to look at what is AI and data, right? Without data, there's no AI, there's no nothing, right? As we know, data is the new gold. So basically, we're going to look at what is AI and how is it related to all the data that we are dealing with in our daily life, and also how it will impact our life. Okay, so if I'm pretty sure that you have been hearing lately that AI is going to be more prominent in your life, and in fact, it already is. The moment you make use of your smartphone, you're basically dealing with a lot of AI-enabled services on your phone, on your computer, right? Devices like IoT devices and so on. Basically, there are a lot of AI all around us. So we're going to look at how it will impact your life and preparing yourself for the future, right? So there's a lot of concerns if it comes to data and artificial intelligence in particular. People are concerned about how it would affect them in the future, and also how they can actually leverage on it um, as a skills to be learned to prepare yourself for the future workforce. So we'll be looking at how to go about preparing yourself for the future and what will be the takeaway points from this presentation. So let's get started. So some of you may be old enough to remember the first one, and maybe young enough to remember the second occurrence of when AI prominence was seen, right? AI prominence was seen. So about 20 years ago, right, Deep Blue, which is from IBM, basically beat Kasparov, right? Beat Kasparov at the game of chess. And then Google DeepMind beat the Korean world champion of AlphaGo. All this happened within the scope of 10 to a decade or two, right? So basically, the use of AI has become more well established. And currently, the situation is that anybody with the ability to access cloud services like Azure has access to all this at their fingertip. So as long as you're willing to pay for the services or you make use of services credits that is assigned to you, you actually can go on to build AI services, right? So basically, it has come a long way, right? Artificial intelligence is not something new. It's been in the picture since 1950s. That's about 70 years ago. But now we have the technology and also the means to implement all those that is needed in general. That means you have a lot of these services made available for you on Azure as cognitive services, on Azure as machine learning studio, right? And you have access to a lot of resources made available for you by Microsoft and others to help you get started on this journey. So it's not just a matter of understanding how to use the technology. You need to also look at in terms of how it is going to impact you, right? How is it going to impact you as as a person, right, and as a community? Now, have a look at this one here, right? Have a look at this presentation here, where I'm showing you how it is like, okay, how it is like in terms of the development that's happening currently. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have seen this. This is basically Neon Life. All right, so let me just quickly get you started on the contents that I wanted to share with you. This is Neon Life. And for those of you who have been following the news, Neon Life has just gone live, right? Neon has just gone live with a lot of different products. This is from Samsung related Starlab under Pranav Mystery, whereby you can see it coming to your phone. It's going to come to a phone near you, most likely Samsung, right? Frame. So you may see customer service, which is in frame, and also studio, right? So basically, it's humanizing, right? Studio is basically to customize the services. So you will be able to see this functionality coming to a phone or device near you. So it's not something that is of a distant future. What I'm trying to say here is that the development, right? The development that you see, right? Development that you see around you now has matured in such a way that they are capable of doing this kind of development. So you would have seen also Boston Dynamics, right? The dancing robot that greeted you for the new year of 2021. Boston Dynamics is also another good example of how much it has matured. And for your information, NASA is planning to send Spot the robot, right? Spot the robot to Mars, right? So this is Spot the robot, right? It's going to send this with the enhanced AI capability to Mars. And like it or not, this is also going to happen, right? Uh, this is basically Moxie, a robot that is going to be made use of in the child development practice. Basically, it is going to give you or your children in the future a means to emotionally react to the conversation with the human, right? So all this is now a very very uh, current development, right? It's no longer the future, right? So if you look at this one here, I mentioned future of AI. Not exactly. This is now a reality, right? So we are now having the ability to develop this kind of solution due to the advance of the technology and also the availability of services that's going to help you to develop this kind of gadgets and also this kind of interactivity with AI enabled features. So, what is AI and data, right? How is it related to data? So, one of the first thing you need to understand is to how are you going to define artificial intelligence? There are a lot of definitions that you will come across. There are a lot of definitions that will come across, but something that would encompass the idea of artificial intelligence, I would say, is that it is going to have capabilities that touches on cognitive functionality and also the ability to interact with us as humans, and it is possibly going to augment our experience in this world. I wouldn't say replace, augment. That means we are looking at in terms of using artificial intelligence to support functionalities that we may be doing in our daily life without actually replacing it. So there's a lot of concerns, right? So it is good for you to understand what it means within the context of its use, because uh, for those who have been following the Hollywood movies, probably you have a more exaggerated idea of what artificial intelligence is capable of. But to be truthful, we are not there yet, so not to worry. We have a lot of artificial intelligence in use, and it is being used for good. Hence, the concept of AI for good is promoted by United Nations and also the technology companies. So do not fear it. Okay. So do not fear the idea of artificial intelligence being part of our life, because it is going to be, and we have the means to implement it properly. Main idea is for us to understand the functionality, understand the limitations. At the same time, right? At the same time, you're going to have the idea of looking at, right? Idea of looking at the functionality without worries, right? So we have the means to control, and the development have to be a controlled development, as many of the great minds have advised, right? So it's all up to us, right? So how does it relate to data, right? We are generating a tremendous amount of data on a daily basis, right? What used to be what do you call megabyte of data being generated by the hour or by the day, now is like gigabytes of data, petabytes of data, zettabyte of data coming in the means of a real time or streaming data that needs to be processed and handled very quickly, right? So, for your understanding, if you are planning to implement artificial intelligence, you also need to have an idea of how big data works, especially in terms of the processing of that data, right? So that's an important idea that you should have. It's not only the idea of implementing artificial intelligence, but how are you going to get and process the data, and to keep with the regulations, how are you going to protect the data? Okay, so a lot of data that's going around nowadays. Some we are voluntarily giving it away, some it is sort of taken from you, okay, willingly or unwillingly. Lately, we have this concern of people going to Signal and Telegram due to some concerns over the use of WhatsApp. So these kind of things are something that you need to address as well as a practitioner of AI and data development. So, how will it impact your life? We need to understand that AI is not only the conversational AI system that I showed you earlier, it is in every aspect of our life. The moment you open your phone, right, your smart app, and you look at the smart app that your smartphone that you're using, you basically have some features to help you with that. So you have Microsoft Cortana, right? You have Google Assistant, you have Alexa, Amazon Alexa. So there are a lot of interactive things that's going to make use of artificial intelligence capabilities to support you. You have autonomous cars, right? You have bionic devices, devices that actually interacts with you with the capabilities of movement by means of using your thought process. So these are things that you need to be excuse me, aware of in terms of how it will impact your life. You will see autonomous cars, trucks, and you will see a lot of use in healthcare, right? A lot of use in healthcare. So these are things that you will need to understand. So to help you with this understanding of how much it is going to have influence in your life, I would strongly recommend that you look at this what do you call presentations that's made available on YouTube, where they talk about the age of AI, right? And who's more rightfully be the host here than our good old Iron Man, right? So basically, he will be narrating throughout the show at the age of AI, right? Which shows you about what is in the future and what's currently being used. And you will see something interesting that is being presented here that is quite amazing in nature. Baby X. Baby X is modeled by the special effects personnel of the movie Avatar, modeling after his own daughter. So you have this learning AI system that mimics the functionality of human. So all those are presented here. The age of AI, how they, how much it is going to impact your life. So how is Microsoft going to help you with this learning process? This is where we have three things that will come into the picture. You will have AI school, right? AI school. So let me just quickly jump over to my presentation, right? So you have your AI school, right? So this is where you will get to learn about all the functionalities that is currently supported by Microsoft in terms of implementing AI solution. So as what I mentioned, you do not only, right, you do not only look at the technical part of it, you need to understand how is it going to be used in the industry, how is it going to be used in education, health services, and so on. And also to understand the importance of implementing responsible AI. Okay, so this is of utmost importance. But as what I mentioned, it's not just about knowing the technology and implementing it. That part is pretty much uh, uh, what you call supported, right? Supported by means of using Azure services. You will be able to develop a very matured AI system, but at the same time, it is best for you to understand responsible AI implementation. Responsible AI implementation. So there is a responsible AI scope that you will see here that will help you to understand, that will help you to understand how to really look at developing a responsible AI. So if you want to look at what are the type of AI implementation that is currently supported, and also you want to try out, you can aid, right? So you can go to aidemos.microsoft.com, where you can see how it is being used in various cognitive functionalities, and also how you can actually go on to develop, right, this by means of using responsible AI functionality. So, for example, just to give you an idea of how this works, let's say you want to look at text, right? Incoming text, and you want to see sentiment, for example. You want to be able to identify the sentiments that is shown inside here. Intelligence, is good for as long as we make sure it is developed responsibly. Okay, so I've given this text and sentiment, right? So it captures that artificial intelligence, it captures that it is good, right? And it reads the sentences to identify what is the sentiment that is shown, right? So we have to be positive about this sentiment, right? Because we want to make sure that we want to respond accordingly. So let's say if you're in customer service and you get some feedback from for your products and you want to be able to detect whether it's a good positive sentiment or negative sentiment to act accordingly. So this is basically done by using text analytics, right? So you have language understanding. Okay, so I'm just showing you some of the functionalities here. So language understanding is not only going to work, right? Not only going to work with uh, the capturing of the words per se, but also to understand your intention, right? Understanding your intention. So I'm just going to type it here for the benefit of, sorry, I'm just going to choose one of it here for the benefit of this demo. And notice that when they mention or when they choose this time to go to sleep, it understands that you want some, let's say, bright darkness in your room so that you will be able to sleep, for example. So if I say it's too dark in here, notice it brightens up. So it's not only going to capture, right? Not only going to capture the what do you call um, sentences, but also act accordingly by understanding what the sentence is made up of. What's your intention of uttering that sentence? Okay, so there are many different examples which is given inside here. I'm going to show you one. Okay, that is going to be able to detect, for example, okay, what is going to be the landmark, for example, right? So this is a prominent landmark in the US, White House, and it detects that White House as being a landmark with 99% confidence. Okay, how about this? A very fine gentleman. Anybody knows who he is? Right? So this is Satya Nadella, right? CEO of Microsoft, and it is able to capture and with 100% confidence recognize this personality, right? So this is basically some examples of how, right, AI is being used, or AI cognitive services is being used to give you an idea, right? To give you an idea of how AI works. So you can look under aidemos.microsoft.com, and earlier I showed you AI School that gives you the overall idea. So from the business perspective, you have AI Business School, right? So AI Business School is not only going to show you about um, AI functionality, but it's going to show you basically what is being used in the respective industries, right? So what are the industries that you are concerned about? Let's say you're looking at education as your industry. You basically can look at what is available in the current use and also get some idea of how you can prepare yourself for that environment or for that industry respectively. So as a business entity, right, as a business leader, you will want to develop an overall organizational level AI strategy. So there are some guidelines given here which you can leverage on. AI ready culture, we need to really understand what is the AI culture going to be like, so that we can actually convince the entire organization, especially those which consist of a more mature leadership, basically to adapt and use AI in their organization. And then we have the responsible AI, which I mentioned, right? So if you want to know more about implementation, there's basically six principles that we will talk about when we talk about implementing responsible AI. So we can actually have an access to that here. So this is made available for you from Microsoft to get you started on the artificial intelligence journey. Now, if you want to look at the technical aspect of it, the great starting point will be Microsoft Learn. As what you see on my t-shirt as well, right? Microsoft Learn. So basically, a lot of interesting use cases, a lot of exercises, and the introductory material is made available on Microsoft Learn for you to get started on this journey. If you're looking at the forum that is going to help you with this quest, you can look at Microsoft Tech Community, right? So you have Microsoft Learn, and you have Microsoft Tech Community, which you can leverage on. So please do join in with your Microsoft credentials or your Outlook credentials, so that you can leverage on this. So what you're going to learn, what you intend to learn, you can basically have a look at it. So a lot of interesting learning paths that you can look at. For example, just now I was just I wanted to show you something. Like for example, if you are planning to create intelligent bots with Azure Bot Service, basically there's a whole lesson or learning path available for you that you can consider using. And Microsoft Tech Community will keep you up to date with what are the developments in the field and also some of the updates that's happening in the field for you to consider. So Microsoft Tech Community is another good starting point for you to learn. So you do not only understand the overall concept, you need to look at it from a technical aspect as well. And once you're ready, okay, there are two exams or two certifications that Microsoft provides for you, which is namely AI 900, Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals, and just announced 2 days ago, AI 102, which will be replacing AI 100 as the exam for Azure Associate AI Engineer credentials. So you have AI 900, which is the fundamentals of AI, and AI 102, which is the new replacement for AI 100 that will prepare you for the Azure AI, right? Azure AI Data Engineer, sorry, Azure AI Engineer credentials at the associate level. So this is not compulsory, but if you're new to this field, I would strongly advise you to take this certification before attempting AI 102, which will be released later in February 23rd. So our understanding is that February 23rd will be the beta exam for this. Later, the general availability, we will let you know, right? General availability, we will let you know later. For now, your AI 100 exam with the same title is available. Okay, let me just quickly show you that as well. So you have the exam AI 100, the new exam that will be replacing AI 100, which is AI 102. And if you want to look at AI 100, which is currently available, this is AI 100. Okay, so let's just to give you an idea of the exam, right? The exam aspect of it, if you're preparing to be certified in this field. So AI 100 or AI 102 will give you the credentials of AI engineer associate level. So this is role-based exam. All right. So how do we get to know more? Right? You're not only going to look at in terms of what Microsoft is looking at in terms of AI usage. Get yourself familiar with other means of understanding the trends. So one good starting point will be the Gartner technology trends. So Gartner technology trends is always Gartner is always looking at the trends that's happening, and every end of the year they'll recognize the technology trends for the following year and the years to come. So this the latest one, Gartner top strategic technology trends for 2021, in which they identified that AI engineering is going to be one of the strong growing trends in 2021. Okay, right? So later I will share with you the link to this AI Gartner, right? Gartner output here. So you can have a look at Gartner top strategic technology trends for 2021. Just look for Gartner and technology trend 2021 in YouTube to get information about this. Okay, so as I mentioned, one of the one of the things that they have looked at is AI engineering as the top trend for 2021. Now, next thing that I would really, really strongly advise you. In fact, there was a talk yesterday, right, by Ujjwal Kumar, where he mentioned about quantum machine learning, right? Quantum machine learning. So basically, we are looking at the advancement in quantum computing. It is becoming very, very prominent. And last year alone, a lot of very important development have taken place in Azure Quantum, Quantum in general, and Azure Quantum. So as a preparation for the quantum computing, which will be the accelerator of all AI related development in the near future, I would advise you to get started on Azure Quantum. Okay. So if you notice, if you're on LinkedIn or if you look into Facebook, you will see a lot of interesting development happening in quantum computing, and certain countries are acknowledging it and implementing it even at the high school level, right? So for you to prepare for this future workforce, I would advise you to go for Azure Quantum, right? And in doing this, let me quickly show you. You can actually register for Azure Quantum Workshop, where they will introduce you to the use of Azure Quantum. So you have introduction to qubits, the many different algorithms in Azure Quantum, and also the more advanced usage in terms of the algorithms that is in use, and eventually you will see some contents on quantum machine learning as well, because that is really going to accelerate the use of artificial intelligence with the near real-time capabilities of interaction, right? So have a look at this, get yourself started on Azure Quantum as well, right? Azure Quantum as well. Okay, so this is one thing I would advise you to do. Let's have a look at other resources. Now, this is something that's beyond Microsoft, but something that is of interest and may prepare you for overall implementation of AI. So you need to understand the maths behind machine learning, right? Maths behind machine learning. So you may want to look at the use of Khan Academy, right? Which is going to give you the access to the maths behind most of the concepts, including for quantum and also AI, and IBM Enterprise Design Thinking, which basically talks about how you can apply design thinking process to artificial intelligence development. Okay, just a quick check on time. Shedu, I think how much time do we have left? Are we good? Okay, so I'll try to keep it short and simple. So here you have other skills that you can learn. Now, to go further, right, in this field, I would strongly recommend you to connect to like-minded AI enthusiasts and also those thought leaders, right? For example, you have Nick Bostrom, Bernard Ma, right, and Terence Mills, whom you can find on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, where you will be able to get in touch with the latest development, right? Latest development in the field, and you can keep up to date on what is the concerns and how do they address the concerns as far as AI implementation is concerned. Okay, so this is from a thought leader perspective. Connect with like-minded AI enthusiasts. And the other thing is the best way to learn is to try to participate in hackathons. So this is especially for those who are really technical oriented and you want to try your hand in identifying, right? Try your hand in identifying the use cases and also how you're going to develop, right? How you're going to develop this content for the intended users. So virtual hackathon, this is the latest one that's happening right now. Okay, virtual hackathon 2021 by Agorize along with the development what do you call along with Microsoft, which is basically going to host this event, virtual hackathon, which you can join individually or as a team. So a good learning, right? The good learning means is to participate in this. Even though you're not really familiar, try to form a team and learn. This is something I would always advise my students and also my attendees who are attending the AI classes to do, right? So if you're looking at more challenges, you can always look at OpenHack, Microsoft OpenHack, to see what are the upcoming challenges in the various fields so that you can also participate in them. The current one, which is now very actively in progress, is Microsoft Azure Virtual Hackathon, which I would strongly suggest for you to follow. Okay, right. So that is basically what I want you to understand. Apart from this, of course, you need to have certain understanding of the skills that we are looking for in the future workforce, so that you do not only have the technical skills but also the soft skills that is required for you to survive in the future workforce. So you look at data literacy, that's a must, right? Data literacy, you need to look at how data is being used, what are the concerns, what are the regulations, and also in terms of understanding how to process them. I rather call it a digital literacy as well. Critical thinking process, tech savviness, right? You must have the passion to learn new things. That is a must. Adaptability and flexibility. So in the past 1 year, we have been very much limited in nature due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but we will survive, right? We will always find ways to overcome and continue to contribute. Next is in terms of creativity. So you look at creativity as a means, right? Creativity as a means to ensure whatever outcome that you're giving is not only functional, but there's a creative aspect to it. Emotional intelligence, another good aspect of understanding, is not only just intelligence or academic excellence, you need to understand the feelings and also how to express that in terms of the uh, application or in terms of how you're dealing with the fellow humans. So, next is cultural intelligence and diversity. We are working in a global environment now, and this is very important. Leadership skills, judgment, and complex decision making. And last but not least, learn to collaborate. I always have these three mantras that I say: whatever happens, keep moving forward. When you're dealing with people, compliment, not compete. You learn when you share what you have learned, and you should continue learning. And lesson which I learned from last year, resilience is the key. So whatever happens, we need to find way to keep afloat and keep the hopes high and continue to move forward. So with that note, I will thank you. So if you want to get in touch with me, this is my LinkedIn address. So LinkedIn, you can find me with the tag of Brenga Ray, and on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and also in person. If you want to send me email, that's my email. So let me quickly have a check in the chat window to see if there's any questions. Shedu, is there any questions in the chat window? Okay, let me have a quick check in the chat window if there's anything in the chat window. Okay, as I do not see any questions in the chat window, so I believe I can end my session. So I'm just waiting for Q from Shedu, right? Okay, right. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, what have been shared is of use to you. Always remember that AI is not something to be feared. It's something that's going to augment our experience in this world. And always look at not only the technical aspect of it, artificial intelligence implementation, you also should look at the business perspective, the society, right, through the implementation of responsible AI, and always try to implement AI for good. So, with that note, thank you very much. So, this is going to be the end of my presentation. So, I will see you in your future event. With that, have a great day ahead.